Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hello, Walnut. Happy Walnut Wednesday. It is me, Laz, and I'm back here with the beautiful Kate Bromley. Hello, Kate. Welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you.
This week, Walnut is the best week ever because Walnut Wednesday turns 4 today. Yay! Happy birthday.
Unreal.
Happy birthday, Walnut Wednesday.
Yeah.
I wonder, should we sing? No. The moment's passed. But Walnut, please, if you're listening to this, take a little screenshot and share, or just like come onto the Instagrams and tag me and just celebrate with me that today is the first Wednesday of November, which 4 years ago I launched my first ever episode, Origins of Walnut Wednesday. What a milestone! And Kate, you've been here every 10-ish episodes for 4 years. Tell me how you feel about this, because I can't contain myself.
It's so crazy, isn't it, how time goes? Because I feel like obviously I know you've been doing it for a while, but also like I think about 4 years ago, I didn't even turn 30 yet. And well, when you did your anniversary thing, this is so vain, but I was like, look at all my hairstyle changes over the years. I'm like, I've been going through some stuff.
I remember you commented that. It's so funny. And I love how your one is like, your episode numbers, it's like 3 to 4 paragraphs of numbers, because you're just always a constant for the podcast, which I think is really great, because we've got, Walnut, if you're new here, welcome, first of all. But Kate comes on every once in a while, and you're basically just a fly on the wall to how we talk online and off the recording. And we have some really great chats, and there have been Walnuts who really enjoy when we're talking, Kate. So thank you for being here all this time, and yay, happy birthday, Walnut Wednesday, and thank you for being here, Walnut. But this week, interesting topic. I wanted to dive in with Kate, Walnut, because I don't really know what to do about this knowledge or this feeling and where to go from here. So in Origins of Walnut Wednesday, when I first sort of started this, it kind of came in as an analogy of feeling small like a peanut, and then by the end of this little live series I was going to do, I would be the size of a walnut. So a little bit bigger than a peanut, but it stayed walnut. And now I feel like being a walnut to me is just first nature. It's just my first response. And Kate, you can kind of talk to this a little bit as well, where I've always kind of over the years been like, I wish I could say that on the spot like you can, or something like that. And now probably not with my voice comes out straight away, but the thought is initially there to stick up for myself or to back myself. And so I had this reading with my Amy, Walnut, if you know, and she kind of had mentioned at the beginning of the year that I will grow out of Walnut Wednesday. And I've always sort of said, like, you know, Walnut Wednesday will live on forever. I can't see it ending or anything like that. And I'm not saying that this is going to end at all. I've just been percolating with this since she sort of told me that. And I had a reading recently, and I kind of followed up on that. And we talked to it a little bit more because, I'm doing all this stuff with Elliot Rose, authors, and I'm still like personal assistanting. I'm still assistanting on all the other worlds, la, 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 la. But I feel like what she kind of mentioned, you're beyond a walnut now, you're like a coconut now, and I don't really know what to do with this information. So Kate, I needed to come on and record the advice on this, on like, what is the next step, and how do you know what the next step looks like, which obviously correlates to what you've got going on as well, Kate. So I thought we could dive into this. This was a very long prelude to whatever this, sorry. But Yeah, I would love your advice, Kate, and if you could speak a little bit to your current experience as well. Um, how are we going to figure out what the next step is when we're already like embodying like what we were manifesting 4 years ago, you know?
Yeah, it's well, so something I was kind of talking to you about offline, that I'll bring on here as well. It's almost like if you look at it like the years of a life and the next step, 4 years, you're like definitely going into a change of like the phase of life. But also I think that what comes with that growth, right, is the change in consciousness about like sort of intelligence, I guess, is like
Mm.
when you're starting a new job or when you're a baby or when you're like in a new place or whatever, you don't know what you don't know. So you
Yeah.
can't even ask really what to do.
Yeah.
And like if you think about Walnut Wednesday, it was sort of like I didn't even know all the things that I did that were keeping me as a peanut. And so you were sort of like the first step, huge step was learning what you didn't know. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
now I feel like the second part of it, I think, is you do know what you don't know. So it doesn't mean you know everything, but you're aware of where you need to grow or what you need to learn. So half of the stuff is what you've learned, which is like just walnutting in a sense of like second nature. And then
Mm.
also you built in those things of being like, oh, I can recognize as a walnut moment, whether it's consciously having to do it or missing a chance and wanting to talk about it or fix it later or whatever. Whereas before it was sort of like, oh, I didn't even know that I wasn't walnutting in this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and for my sort of situation, so I usually dial in from good old London, and I'm actually coming to you from Dubai this time. And yeah, which is a change. Actually, the time before, I think I was in New Zealand anyway. So I've been on a journey this year, emotionally, physically, all the things, financially. And and like I kind of knew, like when I moved to London, it was sort of like I don't really know what I'm doing. I've never moved to a country by myself before. And I had people there to kind of help me figure out things that I didn't even know I needed to know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
anyway. And so now that I've kind of I'm making a change, but I haven't necessarily committed to that change because I know enough about moving that I know what I don't know.
Yes.
So I know how hard it is. I know all the hoops you have to go through. I know what a commitment it can be. I'm so aware of all the things that I wasn't. So I was kind of like going into it merrily, like, oh, let's just see. And this time I'm like, no, it's not just see. It's more like, do I want this? And so if you're kind of getting a reading almost like you're outgrowing Walnut Wednesday, it's sort of like, well, does that mean I need to change what Walnut Wednesday is to grow with me? And for me, I'm kind of like, I definitely feel like I've outgrown London, but does that mean Dubai is my next thing?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's parallels. There were no answers there, Lara. No answers.
No, but I'm just like resonating so hard because it is like that. It's like how and this is how I know when like a walnutting is literally around the corner because I get stuck in the how instead of just surrender and let and
Yeah.
trust in not only like universe woo things but trust in myself and trust that I know when I'm confronted with a choice or whatever in my own way and in my like human design way, in my like emotional intelligible way, in my safe conversations with people I trust way, I will come to the conclusion. um so yeah,
Mhm.
just really resonating really hard. I don't really know where to go from here, and it's like I don't want to close Walnut Wednesday. I don't want to like change the name or anything like that, but maybe it will be a case of this new saga, this new chapter um of difference. And I don't want to stop the podcast either. Like I love doing this part too, but I think it's more I've tried and tested all of these little things. Like I was very up in the coaching industry, so I've tried to do the courses. I've tried to do like the healings, and I still like to do the healings and the card readings and stuff, but it's only a little piece of the umbrella. It's not the whole thing. And that's what I've found really difficult this whole way through. It's like Walnut Wednesday's never really sat in a particular niche because it's just like me.
No, you've totally carved out your own thing. One thing that just came to me, And I was like brainstorming on the podcast is kind of hilarious. But
Love
I
it.
guess the framework I've always noticed with this, ours is a conversation, but often like we're swapping ideas. But a lot of what you do is talk about your experience of, walnutting or processing things, like your sort of journey and learning and all that kind of thing, which is amazing. And then you've had people come in and you're sort of asking them about their process and their journey and their wisdom. Maybe you're at a point like where you get to share your wisdom with people who come in. That could be like not only, but I think we have, I mean, I go to you for advice all the time. And like, I think it's great to learn from other people, but I think maybe it could be a little shift where there's more of a give and take. Like you could say, like just a framework change slightly on the way guests come in. It could, oh my gosh, I'm getting tongue-tied. It could be more than just finding out about them and sort of what you can give with your learnings too. Because I think everyone who comes onto it really enjoys what you have to say and your journey and your advice and your like lessons. Like I know they percolate in my brain all the time.
Yeah.
So there's like a way to apply that. I don't know. Can you fix my life is basically what I'm saying. Can you sort me out, please?
Okay, this feels really good because in the reading up we talked about the things that Walnut Wednesday is, because obviously it's my umbrella to this episode is turning into a recording of my planning. Welcome, Walnut. Welcome. Please share your thoughts. Walnut Wednesday is the umbrella to like my VA work and all the other things too. And that is predominantly in service, organizing people's lives. Let's bring this into the podcast and step into my teachership. That kind of like lights my butt on fire. Very excited. Very exciting.
Like, and not saying you have to do this on the podcast, but I just know that like when we spoke a little while ago when I was like still in London, like, ooh, what am I doing? And I asked you if you'd be so kind to do a little reading for me. And genuinely, I told you, I voiced noted you. I was like, I looked back at the reading, I was like, oh my God, like it's so on point. Like it talked about new experiences, opening yourself up to new things. It talked about finding out talents you didn't know you have, be open to new people. And I'm staying with friends in Dubai. I am wake surfing, wakeboarding, hiking at freaking sunset.
I was going to say waking at 5 a.m.
Waking, exactly. Waking, tried surfing, go-karting, and also learning a whole new system for film production, like just currency changes and the way things cost, or trying to figure out contacts and permits and all the things. And like the person or the two people that I've worked with, one of which has been a guest, Eshem, and Kieran, my very good friend. Kieran is just like the most supportive person in the world and really values me, but like almost freakishly on point with the reading you gave me. So I'm just saying there's something in that. And it's not like it's a you make it happen, but it's more like I felt sort of like held, and I felt sort of like, more confident, and then kind of forgot about it. And then looking back reflectively, I was like, wow, that's freakishly accurate, and I've always thought you've been incredibly talented at that. So I might very soon be asked for another one about the next big decision in my life, because I'm the exact same. So I'm like, what's next? What do I do? What do I want?
It's a hard phase, and just those questions to actually ask yourself, like what do you, the Notebook, what do you want? I don't know. We've talked about this on the podcast before too. We're stuck in a bind. Maybe we should go back and listen to ourselves. But I don't really know what that means, and that's kind of scare-sighting, I guess. But it's also, there's that pressure. And I think I would like to ask you, Kate, about when you were in London, when you weren't sure about moving to Dubai. Yes, we had a chat and we did the card reading and stuff, but how did you get past, like, can you recall any tangible ways that you got out of the pressure? Did you do anything? Because I know Walnut's listening. It's that horrible feeling when you have to pick or decide something. but it's too overwhelming that you just snowball.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm about to be in that position. But do you recall physically or like tangibly anything that you did to sort of move from that?
Yeah, yeah. So I was kind of in the situation where I was couch surfing and staying with friends, and like that's got enough sort of like you're trying to figure out where you're staying the next night, plus trying to figure out what to do and all these things. And a few things. One, I was very fortunate to have a friend who offered me her place for a week that was sort of outside of London. And I got a bit of peace, quiet, a bit of solitude, that kind of thing. So that helped. I think having quiet in your space can help, especially when there's noise. I kept using the word noisy in my brain.
Yeah.
I am a talker. So I sent voice notes to multiple friends, at least three people that I was just saying all the things and all the fears and all the stuff. And basically I was like, okay, I kind of narrowed it down to two, two or three options. And then I just gave myself a deadline. I was like, stop trying to figure out now. Just let yourself sit with it until this date. And it wasn't like tomorrow, it was like 3 days away. And every day I was kind of like, oh, I'll just book my flight to Dubai. And when I was even sure, pretty sure, I was like, just wait for the deadline. Like, you've given yourself till Friday. You might have made up your mind on Thursday, but there's no harm sleeping on it again. So it was just like giving that time to actually like almost sit with a decision. Kind of things I should probably do with tattoos, which is like maybe put the design on and sit with it for a couple days before it's tattooed on your body, you know? And you might still love it, but like, what's the rush? What's the rush? And I felt like there was a rush, and I did feel like there was pressure, and it was like, I've got to make money, I've got to make a decision, I've got to, there are certain things in life that you can't avoid forever. But ultimately it was sort of like giving myself the space to know, to sort of start to like believe in the idea, if that makes sense, like sit
Yeah.
with the idea that I was doing that decision, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Being like, let's try this out hypothetically, that I was doing that. And if I'm waking up the next day being like, oh no, then it's not. But the more I sat with it, the more I kind of acclimatized. And it wasn't like, oh, book it right now. I was kind of like, yeah, I'm okay, yeah, I'm excited even. In fact, sorry, this is a whole other tangent. But when I was finishing high school, it's funny, the similarities, I've just thought of this now. I was finishing high school, everyone was planning on university in my year, pretty much, or at least their next step in higher education. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was a pretty good student. I studied pretty hard. And I was like, I think I want to go traveling. Like, I don't think I want to go straight into, I don't know what I want to do.
Mm.
And I went traveling. And I remember near the end of my travels, I was really excited about the prospect of studying again and learning again. And my decision was, well, study what you love, and you might end up doing something that you love. And funnily enough, I picked English literature and film, and I'm now in film production. But that's, you got to try and really carve out that space and that time. And I even just, my past self is just reminding me of shit that I should do more often. But I think those things are really helpful. It's like, just if you feel unsure, the last thing you should do is rush into a decision.
Yeah, totally. And I'm hearing a really, really great example of being an emotional authority as well, and giving yourself that time to just really sit with all of the options.
Yeah.
Funnily, I did that too, Kate. I did that in, is it year 13, the last high school year. I was like,
Yeah.
I'll just pick the things that you like doing because I've got no idea what I want to do. So I did drama, photography, and then when I went on to university, same thing, film, where we met, and like English literature also. Um, was it literature? Anyway,
We did philosophy too.
oh,
That's actually how we met.
philosophy of art.
Meaning of life, baby. You and me figuring it out.
Do you remember that? I cut it in the anniversary clip where you're like, we were like cracking up about you saying like, oh, I can always talk to you about philosophical conversations.
Literally what drew us together. That literally the biggest howl of them all was the how and the why and the what. Oh my gosh, we love to pose questions. I think maybe that's a positive thing to think about too, is if you know you're completely sure. I mean, I envy you, but
Yeah, me
not
too.
knowing isn't failure. There's that curiosity and there's that inquisitiveness and there's that sense of adventure and that sense of growth and that sense of feeling like you're, again, I'm not saying anyone who doesn't like this, but like feeling like I could change my life tomorrow, or I could try this other thing. And that's both incredible, but also like weirdly scary because I feel like we do kind of live in a society or like we are conditioned to feel like, you know, there are these things that you do. You get your job, you do your career, you work your way up the ladder of that career. And, you know, if you're going against that, somehow, for me at least, psychologically, I feel like, and it's not true, but psychologically, I feel like if I fail, it's that, see, you shouldn't go off course, should you? And uh, first of all, I don't really know anyone like personally that I think would think that. And if they did, I don't know why I would care if I even would. But there
Mm.
is that thing, fear that is associated with risk taking and subverting the norm. And like for me as well, age as well, thinking like at 33, if I'm going to start a new life in a new country, I really should be sure this is the place to be. And it's sort of like, well, I wasn't sure what it was London. And okay, I was 24 then, but like nothing has to be permanent. And I think it feels like it does. So Walnut Wednesday, for example, it's like it can still flow and change and all these things and still be what you want it to be and still be true to your vision. And it's just a funny thing that I feel like we get caught up in this um confused about.
For sure. And I coming back to that word you said, it's just noise, because nothing is actually permanent ever. Anything at all. It's all okay.
No.
I'm getting into like weird woo woo matrix stuff, but like it's not actually permanent. Our jobs, our financial security, our homes, like all of this like 3D material stuff. It's not permanent, and we get so bogged down, and we create our own little boxes that we get stuck into because of how noisy everything is. Whereas like I like how you mentioned going out of the city, taking yourself out and just being one with yourself. It kind of helps. Walnut, I'm airing a bit of dirty laundry next week and telling you about my little climatizing situation where it's like I got to a point as well where I needed to stop asking advice and stop hearing other noise. I've done all my bits. I've asked the relevant parties that I need to discuss this with or whatever. And now it's like, now I need to just come home to my heart and myself, away from the noise, and just climatize, like you said, Kate, like sit with the tentative hypothetical decision,
Yeah.
and let my nervous system just get used to it, I suppose. Do you have anything to add on that like climatization phase?
I think I think you're so right. It's like sometimes it feels like my mind, the noise, it's like you're locked in a cage and you're asking all these people for help and how do I get out? And they're all giving you advice and you're holding the fucking key.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
eventually you just go, you're like, unlock the door and walk out. And like, why did I find that so hard? But because essentially is, I think you're not trying to get out of the cage. You're actually scared to leave the cage. And you're huffing and puffing and deliberating and everything. And it's not about, oh, I'm locked in. It's about, do I want to be out of this safe little cage? I may be locked in, but I'm safe in this little box. And then you go outside and you're like, oh, it's actually quite nice out here. And it's really, I always feel a little bit silly, not in like a self-deprecating way, but sometimes I'm like, oh, the tizzies I get in, but it's my process. It's what I
yeah.
need. And I think actually that advice thing is really interesting about asking people, because I think one thing that I know when I've started to actually come to my decision is when someone will say something to me and I'll think, no, no, they're wrong. I can't do it. And not unlike they're going, oh, you shouldn't. But like I start being like, and I realize, oh, I've actually got these very clear feelings in there. And sometimes them being challenged actually brings them to the surface.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's quite interesting when that happens and you like ask something and you just wrinkle your nose up and you're like, they're wrong. And then it's perfect. It's kind of
Yeah,
like, oh, well, then I fucking know what I need to do.
I love
But
that.
yeah.
And it's a little bit different to like that similar feeling comes up with defensiveness, but when you're like at this point in the walnut journey as well, you can notice the really subtle differences. Like I used to be like, like about like, oh, Walnut Wednesday, you should put that for free on YouTube, and I'd be like, oh no, but defense, defense, defense. Whereas now I'm like, okay,
Mm,
and in my head, no,
yeah.
that's wrong. you know?
Yeah. Not having to like explain yourself, not feeling that need, because then I think if you're trying to explain it or say it to someone else, you're sort of convincing yourself too. Whereas when you're really solid in a belief or a feeling or a choice, you can go, oh yeah, that's really interesting. I'll think about that. In your head, you're like, no, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And you don't need to validate anyone else but yourself. And that's when you know you're really, really on it. Um, so I think for both of us, to be honest, my greatest thing is being like, I guess we just need to let the process run its course. And this is the little bit of the noisy, messy thing part. And we just have to trust in the fact that we've always come through to a decision, to a new phase. We've always done it before. Why would it be any different now? And even if it's still annoying and there's still some rattling of the cages and all that kind of stuff, like we'll get there. But like it is a bit frustrating. It is a bit frustrating.
That I was gonna ask like your advice for going forward, the next sort of steps, but you've just kind of nailed it by we just need to relax. We just need to stop asking how and just relax, which is the hardest. It's like what am I gonna do?
Keep asking, but just know that that's just part of the process right now. And this is like, that's what I think is like, I'm still going to be voice noting you with all my tizzies and thoughts and all that stuff until I get to a point where I've leaning on something. And that might be next week. It might be in a few months. Who knows? But like, I think that's the other thing which I need to do more. And I that's why it's so much easier to say you should do more, because it's like be kind to ourselves, basically. Always just be kind to ourselves and trust that, yeah, like you said, it was like just trust that it'll work out. And like maybe part of one thing I'm even thinking is sort of enjoy that noisy feeling of being like that noise is actually just like all these channels cranked on of endless possibilities, and you'll eventually hone into one channel. But like what a incredible problem to have. So
Mm.
much choice.
Yeah, I'm getting so many visuals when you're talking of like my brain like thinks of all these like things in my head in my mind's eye. Um so much so that I have forgotten my next question that I wanted to ask, and I know we're going to wrap up soon, but Kate, but while I try and think of what I wanted to actually ask you, on reflection, 4 years of Walnut Wednesday, do you have any like I don't know, favorite moments that you've been on here, or little bits of advice that you've learned from the podcast as a guest at all?
So many lessons, by the way. Like I said, when I was on the Camino, all I was thinking was like slay in your lane, and that like that baby steps and positive self-talk and all that kind of stuff. But one of my favorite parts, I think it might have been around the first birthday actually, but we did a live
Yes.
podcast.
Yeah.
That was really fun. And I had a friend from New Zealand who was on there as well. And she was like, I think she asked a question at one point. That was really fun. It was really special. Um, and then I mean, for me, the podcast, like also, which is not the actual podcast recording, but when I was back in New Zealand once, we're doing one of our trips, and it was when you first got some like merch, you had a couple of photos and things, and we did that like photo shoot on the beach in Taranaki, and
Oh
like
my
I love
God.
those photos. Those photos are great. I'm like, can I be a model?
I
Um,
still use those. I love them as well.
but there's so many memories, but like mostly it's just that thing of I think how you open it up is that second nature thing is how many times I think now after I've done something, I'm like, oh, better tell Lara about that sick walnutting I just did. Or like, the self-talk, you're trying out shit that like my belief system is, you're not very athletic, Kate. And then I'm still going, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a go with wake surfing, and I bet I'm gonna get up eventually. And then I did. And that's a lot to do with remembering positive self-talk and walnutting. And I'm always conscious now when I'm like, God, I've been doing a lot of walnutting lately. It's like part of the vocabulary now, That's kind
Yeah.
of
And I'm at a point where it's like on in all aspects of life, but like just to be grateful for what I have done, like be grateful for what travel I have done, be grateful for what things I'm not so proud of that I have done, because now I can like learn from them, in this like hindsight
yes.
space of like looking at it, where just be grateful of that. I don't wake up embarrassed or ashamed, or like even if bourbon from a can layers comes out, and which is once in a blue moon now, literally, and I do some silly things because I've had too much to drink. I don't wake up like I'm so ashamed with the dread and feel like horrible and that yuck sick feeling in my stomach for like days and days. I just go, oh, that was bourbon from a can, Laz, and I probably won't do that again. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
Or nothing bad's happened from that before, and like I am who I am, and there's nothing actually wrong with that. Unless you did something terrible, but mostly we don't. And that cringe thing, that's all that belief system. So you're like changing literally part of the chemistry of your brain. So like
yeah,
when you're hung up, like that dread's horrible. I've noticed that started to shift for me too. And it's that thing of being
yeah,
like, oh, well, we all do dumb shit.
yeah,
We all do dumb things. Most people are gonna be waking up thinking what they said as well, not thinking about what I said. And I just remind myself of that. And loving yourself really helps that when you're like, oh, well, silly me. And you're
yeah.
kind. Oh, what will like, you know?
Typical bourbon from a can, Laz. She
Yeah.
can stay in the can for a while. No,
Yeah.
oh, thank you so much, Kate. Before I ask you the token question for Walnut Wednesday's fourth birthday, 1, 2, 3, 4 years. God, I'm just saying that out loud. Every Wednesday for 4 years, over
Unreal.
200 episodes. That is blowing my little butt right now. Wow, 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 wow. I'm so
So
proud of
cool.
myself. I'm so proud of you
Should
as
be.
well for like being
I'm
you.
so
You know,
proud of you.
you've kind of like paralleled all the same things that I kind of go through. I and yeah. Anyway, 4 years of Walnut Wednesday. Do you have anything like left on your heart that you want to say on this episode for the fourth birthday to a Walnut listening?
I would say that like as much as we've done the work and all those things, you can recognize so much progress. It's still a work in progress, and like we need to just remember always to be kind to ourselves, and like get frustrated, just remember like it's okay. I'm saying that to myself more than anyone else.
Yeah. Especially right now. We're both like, it's going to be okay.
It's gonna be all right.
Ooh.
Oh.
Um, okay, Kate, over 200 episodes in on Walnut Wednesday's fourth birthday, please tell me if you have evolved with what being a walnut means to you.
I mean, all the things I've said still stand, but I guess I try to contextualize it for what we talked about. So I guess being a walnut to me means always, always striving. I think you're still striving. I think you're talking about outgrowing, like that thing, or the fear of outgrowing, but it's like we're always growing. We're always growing from when we started the journey to where you are now to where you're going to be in 4 years from now, another 4 years. So I think being a walnut means reminding yourself that you're always growing, looking back at all your achievements, and remembering that sometimes there are growing pains that grow with growth, that go with growth. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I loved like snipping through all of the walnut um things of our episodes, because there were so many. Um
So
It's so beautiful. Oh, well, thank you for striving with me on yet another episode. And I look forward to the next 10-ish where we're like, we did the thing.
That's
This
so
was
nice to
probably
think
made.
about. Like, future us can just, we should remind ourselves to like refer back to past us, which is now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we were worrying for nothing. Oh, fingers crossed, man.
Technically, Walnut Wednesday is basically just a vlog of our choices.
It's our diary.
Yeah, a video diary. Okay. I
But
love this. Walnut, 4 years, holy butts. Thank you so much for being here for 4 whole years of Walnut Wednesday. If you enjoyed this episode, do a little screeny shot, jump in the walnut tree, celebrate with me. I'll probably do something, along the lines of celebration, you know me. And Kate, thank you for being here for all of these episodes, and may there be many more. I love you so much. And thank you, thank you,
I
thank
love
you.
you. I
Have
love you. Thank you for having me on.
Have a happy Walnut Wednesday, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.